Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for taking the time to watch my video. I truly appreciate it. And I want to say thank you for everybody that has been supporting my videos, that has been subscribing, liking, commenting. I truly appreciate it, especially those who take the time to comment. I truly appreciate you taking the time to do that. It is very encouraging for people like me who have a small channel. It's good to see when people comment saying that my videos are helpful or that they enjoy watching my videos. And that is my hope, is that any content I put out there is helpful, informative, gives value, or is it 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 informs you in some way. It makes you think about some things that you never thought of, or is just something that you enjoy watching. So thank you is very encouraging, and I hope that you will enjoy today's video. Before we dive into today's topic, we're gonna first do one exercise just to release the stress, to calm down. You could be overstimulated, or you just need to have good breathing practice. This is great for those who are expecting or going through postpartum. This is a great exercise to do every day. Anytime you feel like a little stress and you need like a relief, and you can do it on your bed, on the floor. It is wherever you feel comfortable. Okay, so that's why I'm on a bed. So we're going to um, sit down or lie down. Have your thumb on the bottom of your rib and the rest of your fingers on your belly. So we're going to breathe in through the nose. This is a breathing exercise that's called connection breath, and this helps you to have good breathing practice, help with mind and muscle connection, help with the core. It's just a great recovery exercise. So breathe in and just let your ribs expand and your core, and breathe out with your mouth and just let that deflate. Breathe in, just feel your ribs expand and your core, and breathe out in mouth. All right, so that's just help you to relax and just to wind down. Great to do when you wake up, and great also for before you go to bed. So I hope that was helpful and calming for you guys. So a little different to my sit down videos, but I just thought that I should do that before I get started. So I'm going to share a post that I saw a few days ago, which ties into what I'm going to talk about. And this is from a woman that is successful, married with a child, and she got married and had a kid later on in life. So I just wanted to give that context, so it doesn't seem like it's somebody who is single or bitter or had a hard time, is against relationship. This is someone who is in a successful relationship and happily married, has a child, and is enjoying life, and is in her 50s now. Yeah. So I'm going to share what she posted. She says, I'm going to piss some men off with this, but the reason a lot of your parents and grandparents stayed married for so long is because the women in those generations were financially trapped. When a woman makes her own money, the only thing a man can truly offer her is how he treats her. That's why there's a male loneliness epidemic. The reason why I point out this post is because the reasons I'm going to point out is linked to what this post says. I feel like the three major things that help you to recover and have a great experience during postpartum, and that really impact your recovery journey during postpartum is the environment that you have created for yourself pre-baby, the relationships that you have and that you allow in your life, and your finances. what your financial status is in your life before you reach postpartum, and how you plan your finances. um, so the post is basically saying, be careful who you're in a relationship with, and don't be reliant on your partner when it comes to finances, because when things go awry, one of the things the partner will use against you is finances, or um, keep you hostage if you want to leave, or you feel like the relationship doesn't serve you anymore, or you just feel like it's not working. One of the things that keeps the woman to stay is not having the finances to leave. Now, I believe you can be financially stable just because you know you want to have an exit strategy. I don't want your incentive to save money to be, oh, I need an exit strategy if things do not go well in the relationship. It is good to have the finances because there is so many things that happen when it comes to pregnancy and postpartum that a lot of people don't talk about. There is now when it comes to environment, I mean, like you're in a space where there's a lot of love, there's a lot of support, it's healthy, the people around you are supported and loving, and vice versa. You have worked on yourself, you've healed your traumas, you have a good job if you work, you are emotionally and mentally stable, because you know that a lot is required for you as you become a mom. That's what I mean by environment, that you have created an environment that will help you to have a good experience becoming a new mom, or becoming a mom to multiple kids, and is safe, and you feel secure. And then relationships, that you have, a great and supportive partner, you have friends, you have other sources of support when you need it. And then finances, you need, it's great to have the financial stability for things that will pop up during postpartum. So when it comes to partner, a lot of people, they say that, be prepared for things to not work out, which is true. Things are not always going to be perfect. Sometimes we miss red flags, and we could end up with the wrong person. But at the same time, I believe that we are called to rely on God more than man. Even if things do not go well, we should have the mindset not to do it ourselves, but to rely on God, for He will provide the resources, the right person, or direct us to the right person, the right partner. And even with the right partner, things can happen. Health issues, they could lose their life, they could, a bunch of things can happen, and you could end up, a single mother, um, because we live in a world where there's a lot happening, as nothing is perfect. But the assurance that you are relying on God, and God will provide any gaps or anything that we're missing, or anything in areas where we're weak. God will come in and be strong, and show and give us the strength to keep going on, and to pivot, and to care for our family, and for our kids, or for the baby, for the new journey, and to able to help us to navigate the new journey that you're in as a postpartum mom. So there is things that happen during postpartum internally that we tend to not, a lot of women don't like to admit, because they're embarrassed, or they feel bad, or they feel like they're going to be judged. That can happen. And having support, finances, and being in the right environment really helps with dealing with all these things that come up when it comes to going through postpartum. One thing that you cannot avoid is that we will bear most of the physical burden, because we were pregnant, and gave birth. That's also a lot on our bodies. And now we're going through the emotion of postpartum, and we have to nurse, and to we're sleep deprived. We are giving a lot of ourselves to the baby, and that's the natural way of things. It's not the baby's fault, it's not your fault, that's just the way things are. But one thing people don't realize is that you need the funds to get extra support on top of, like, the family and friends that you have, and the partner that you have. because they're not always going to be around when you need a certain amount of support. And that's not because they're bad people or they're selfish, but because they all have their own lives. And your partner is probably doing his best to provide for the family while you're healing and recovering. During, the early phases of postpartum, you're probably on your maternity leave, and now, he's the one bringing in the income. And it's good for you, to have, good insurance, and also like money, your own money on the side, not because you want to have a way to leave the relationship if things go bad, but also to be able to afford extra support. And what do I mean by extra support? There are things that you'll go through. Some women go through like anxiety, postpartum depression. There's a sense of grieving that you'll go through, where you're grieving the lifestyle that you had. You're grieving the freedom that you had. You're grieving, the freedom to move the body the way you wanted. Now you have to rest, and you have to be careful with what you carry. You're not as mobile as you were before. Um, you're grieving the freedom to eat or drink whatever you want. The freedom to go to bed and wake up whenever you want, and just like doing things on a whim. If you're a person who likes to be spontaneous, now you can't. You have to have like a routine, a schedule. You're depending on your baby's schedule. That's just how it is naturally. It's we the baby dictates a lot of the things that we do. And there's a sense of grief that happens when you are going through those early phases of postpartum, and trying to navigate this new season in your life, that you feel guilty to have these feelings, because you're happy that you're a mother, you're happy to have the baby, you're happy that the baby is healthy, but there's these feelings that sneak up on you, the feeling of isolation, even though you have a supportive partner, even though you have friends, maybe you have family that come and help you. Some people don't even have family that can help them, but they have a partner, but again, and friends, but again, they also are busy with other things. And there's some things they don't understand that you need extra support dealing with and speaking about, without being judged or feeling that you are just not, you're complaining or being ungrateful. And that's where finances come into, where you can be able to invest in yourself, by doing therapy, or being able to see a specialist if you are having health issues, health concerns, that your OB or your PCP cannot help you with. They can refer you to a specialist, and it's great to have a good insurance for that. And if it doesn't cover everything, you have the money to pay for a specialist, and you're not having to prolong your recovery because you cannot afford those type of services. I can say, when my kids were babies, one thing I'm so grateful for the church I went to, because they created a small group for moms called MOPS, and it stands for Mothers of Preschoolers. So it was women who were pregnant all the way up to women who had kindergartners. So it was really specific to that group of women. And that group, we met like every other Wednesday. It wasn't every week, it wasn't every day, but it's every other Wednesday. And it really helped with, um, getting into the swing of things, of being a mother, being around other mothers who are, going through the same thing that I was going through, who have their own struggles, who just need somebody to talk to, that, we can relate, and we don't judge each other, and pray for each other and support each other. And it really was helpful having that group. And it was something to look forward to. And there was also, we could bring our kids with us, and they would play with each other. Some became friends. So it was like a big play date, where we were fed spiritually, and we also got to just express all the day-to-day stuff that we go through, that our spouses didn't understand, that maybe our friends who don't have kids don't understand, and just a lot of us felt seen, validated. We didn't feel like, we were being ungrateful, or that we didn't feel judged. Like, we could just say what was going on, and there would be a woman there who could be like, hey, this is what helped for me. I went through what you went through. This is what helped. And what I also loved about that group is I learned about meal prepping, because one of my struggles was having to cook every single day, because we couldn't afford to eat out, being on one income, and my insurance and my job didn't have paid maternity leave. So my maternity leave was unpaid for both kids. So it's really, we really had to be mindful of our budget. So I learned about meal prep, and there's one mom, she loved being in the kitchen, and she had like amazing, like easy recipes, like kind of like Pinterest things you find on Pinterest. And she was like very creative when it came to the kitchen, and she would share ideas. And a lot of women were encouraged by that group, because some women started discovering, their purpose beyond just being a stay-at-home mom. Some women started discovering the gifts, because another thing is, it's good to have a skill that you can, so you can multiply that gift, and so that you can, it's good, God gives us gifts. There's a parable of the talents where, multiply what you have. God gives us gifts so that we can multiply, and we can make, have multiple streams of income. So it's in the word for us to be financially prepared for anything that comes up, because you never know. Even the word says that you never know what's going to happen. So to be prepared for any surprises. So some women, discovered gifts that they had just by being there and serving, you know, other women in the group and offering advice. I remember one lady, she started a business of delivering food to moms who struggle in the kitchen, who don't have that gift of cooking. They have a hard time cooking, or they're just not able to. And she started a business through that group. So that group was so helpful. I was even having a conversation with a friend of mine just an hour ago, and was saying that MOPS was really, really helpful when our kids were babies, navigating, postpartum, especially when you have kids close in age. That can be taxing on you emotionally, mentally, physically. So having something like that is important. So and then also I invested in one-on-one session to work on my mindset. It wasn't geared to just postpartum women like the service that I provide. I have a one-on-one service for postpartum women, or women who are preparing for postpartum, where I help them to navigate the journey of reconnecting, rebuilding, restoring yourself, because we tend to lose ourselves. We're going through so much grief, and we forget the things that we loved and did before having the baby, and just reconnecting to that, and knowing that there's an extra layer to us after being a mom, and that we have more to offer, and just working on mindset. So that's my coaching experience is 12 weeks, work one-on-one, and I just help postpartum mom just navigate, and help them to navigate, this postpartum journey they're going through, encourage them, support, and help them with whatever they're struggling with, emotionally, mentally, and physically, and just giving them gentle recovery options, and just to be that support to help them to navigate the new season that they're in, whether they have multiple kids, or is there are a new mom. Every woman, needs extra support, whether it's not your first time having a kid, you still need a lot of support. So I remember investing in one-on-one mindset coaching it was a 6-week program, and it was very helpful. It really helped me to realize what I needed to heal, what I needed to work on, what were my limiting beliefs, and what I was saying to myself internally that was harming me. And it really helped. So I know what it's like. I am talking from experience, that kind of support, where free support, where you find a group. Another group that I joined was the La Leche League, which is a breastfeeding group in the town I'm in. I found that, I think, through Facebook. I don't remember how I found it, but I found out that group because I just needed help with, breastfeeding, and make sure I was doing the right thing, because I was really determined to really do well in nursing my babies. And I joined that group and met other mothers who struggle breastfeeding. And it turned out the leader of that group went to the same church as I did, and we both ended up in MOPS. So I created, great friendships. I met so many wonderful women, and I'm telling you, finding a community offline that you can be a part of, and it doesn't have to be every single week. It can be every other week. La Leche League and the MOPS was every other week. It wasn't every week. There are times I wish it was every week, but I couldn't afford to have a lactation nurse with me all the time, or to go see a therapist, but I did invest in one-on-one, like I said. And I did, join those groups, really put myself out there and join those groups, and they turned out to be really helpful, because and I see it now in the postpartum group that I'm in on Facebook, that a lot of women, a lot of the problems that they deal with during the postpartum, early postpartum, or during the postpartum journey, has a lot to do with finances and the relationship that they're in. They really affect how they deal with their recovery, how they heal. And because our body holds on to trauma, stress, anything that we're dealing with, our body holds onto that and can take a toll on us, and can lead to sickness, and can lead to further problems, or lead to you not recovering as fast as you're supposed to, or when you're supposed to, or when the doctor tells you you're supposed to. You're supposed to recover. We're all different. It won't be fast for everybody, but having that healthy, safe environment, and just knowing that you have the resources to go to when you just need the time for yourself, really helps with your recovery. Um, Another thing is that it's good to go out and do something for yourself, and have people that can watch your child, or have the resources to pay somebody to watch your child while you go out, or or have that agreement with your partner to watch your child, watch your baby when you're out, and then, vice versa. You take care, you're with the baby, and you let him go out and do things he loves. Because another thing that a lot of us forget is that men also need that time to adjust to the change. They're also grieving, some things, old lifestyle. Now they came from just being a man to a dad. Just, they're not just a husband, now they're husband and a dad. And, it's a lot of, sometimes I feel we really have to be intentional who we decide to have a child with, because they really do affect our postpartum journey, and how we become mothers, and how we navigate that season of parenthood. Um, and honestly, I did a testimony video of how God warned me and protected me from marrying the wrong person. And and I'm glad I listened to the red flags before it got too serious. And I'm so grateful that God showed me in a dream, and confirmed what I was discerning when I was with that person. Having a relationship, I know some people probably will not agree with this, or roll their eyes, or probably are tired of hearing this, but having a relationship with God really and truly helps you to be able to navigate all the things that I mentioned. You know, it's because of God that He led me to, because of the church that I go to, I was able to join the MOPS group. And then He led me to the La Leche League. The one-on-one, that was purely me. I don't feel that was God, because I used a credit card. Sorry, that call. I used a credit card for that. And I don't suggest using credit card. Use, unborrowed money, your money that you worked hard for. Don't use a credit card. But at that time, I was pretty responsible. I didn't really use my credit card, so I knew I'd be able to pay it off. So I used my credit card to invest in that. But again, I would not suggest that. Make sure that you have some savings or something, that you can use to go out, to go have a spa day, to invest in yourself, to help with your mindset, and just to be able to talk to somebody. And another thing that I did on my birthdays, I would go and treat myself, and go for a facial for my birthday, you know. So, and that also helped with, I did something that I love to do, and I didn't rely on other people to celebrate me. So I went out, no drama, went for a facial, felt good, came home, and my cup was full, and I was able to just hang out with my kids and my husband the rest of the day, because I got that 2 hours to myself. So don't feel guilty if you want to go out and just have time to yourself, or time with your friends, time to do what you love. Communication is important. Make sure that you have good communication between you and your partner, and also to be able to set boundaries, healthy boundaries. Know when to ask for help, because we tend to not ask for help and try to figure things on our own. And in my coaching, I do help women to be able to set boundaries and to know when to ask for help, and to also help women to look for communities or groups in the area that they can join, that can help them to meet other women that are in the same, that in alignment with what they are going through, that they are mothers just like them, who are navigating the postpartum journey. So they have all types of support. So I will link in the description box below my services, where you can schedule a free call and we can talk and discuss how I can help you and what you're struggling with, and how we can work together for 12 weeks. Um, but yeah, I will mention a few things that some other women have mentioned that women need to hear before having kids, which I feel like, I agree, is something said, choose your partner wisely, which is true. Heal your traumas first. Remember to marry a man who wants to be a husband and a father, not someone who wants a wife and a baby. Be cognizant of your body. Know your body when it's healthy. Pregnancy and postpartum can come with some health challenges, and so you need to know how to advocate for yourself, because sometimes doctors can dismiss some of the things that you're going through. But when you know yourself, know your body, you're with your body 24/7. So when you know your body when it's healthy, you'll know when to advocate and know when there's something wrong. But also just want to say, when it comes to finances, don't just think it's a way for me to have an exit strategy. Finances can help with so many things. It can help with emotional, mental health, emotional well-being, and also physical recovery. Sorry, I'm getting a call. So, but yeah, that's all for today. That's what I wanted to share with you. I hope that was very helpful. And make sure to like, comment what you think. If there's anything you want to add on, if there's anything that you feel you experienced that I didn't mention that you want to, point out in the comments, let me know. Again, my services are linked in the description box below, where you can schedule a free 45-minute call with me, so we can talk and discuss and see how I can help you. So I hope this was helpful. Thank you for tuning in. If you stayed to the end, thank you. I appreciate it. And I hope to see you again in the next video. Bye.